Well, I gave my rant last week after what was an abysmal showing from AEW Dynamite, which of course led to they weren't record low ratings since the insurrection in 2020 for the key demo, I believe. And
So only disease and government overthrow could produce lower ratings than last week's program.
well, this week's show you have to think will be up just because of those factors and the idea that there aren't any big competitive games up directly against it like there have been. And it's the go-home show for AEW Double or Nothing. AEW in, where were they? They were in Bakersfield, weren't they?
Bakersfield, California. The Buckaroos were in Bakersfield. They're going to put me in the movies. They're going to make a big star out of me. The biggest fools that ever hit the big time. And all we got to do is act naturally. Well, I bet you I'm gonna be a big star, might win a title you can't never tell. Oh, Tony's gonna make me a big star, but I can't play that part very well. Stop me before I improvise anymore.
No, please. On behalf of all the listeners and civilization.
I'm pulling that out of my ass too, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and children of all fucking ages, just so you know.
We could tell by the smell.
Yeah. All right. Pretty good on your part, too, there, Skippy.
I didn't sing. What do you mean?
No, I'm talking about the snappy retort.
Oh. Thank you.
Yeah. So, first off, the new Open. Is this some kind of video game? For the first part of it, I thought, I don't recognize that guy in their goddamn Open. Is he a new one? They just must have signed him, but apparently is it a video game of some kind? Did they interspersed the Open of their show with this video game to make absolutely no fucking sense?
Oh, I thought it was a movie. I figured it was a cross promotion with a Mad Max movie.
Well, but it didn't look like real shit. It looked like a video game shit.
Did it?
I did, to me. Because, I mean, they make, as strange as it may seem, they make those video games look really weird these days. I don't fucking know. But if you don't know, then you have to be a lot younger than us to know. And that means that most people watching this show probably didn't know. And then the first thing you hear, and by the way, this is May 22nd. Mark that date down, ladies and gentlemen. I believe it will be, the Who Killed WCW 4-part docu-series is coming up on Vice in the Dark Side of the Ring slot Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock Eastern from our friends Evan and Jason. And I understand it's going to be also known as Blame-a-Palooza. But mark down May 22nd, 2024. Because I think this is where they will start when they go the end times of AEW. I don't know if this was the shark, but it may have been the start of the shark jumping. And again, with all the stuff we've been talking about and the dropping ratings and people.
No, you know what? The shark jumping was the CM Punk video from All In. It's all been downhill since then.
Well, you may be right. It's been a steady descent.
I'm not even just saying that like, oh, it was a big moment. No, statistically, it's all been downhill since then.
But this is it. They're just now they're having fun with it while it's burning. It's like they're making fun of how bad it can be, or they can make it. The first thing we saw, they're sucking hind tit bad. To the opposition, and their answer, again, is to make the amateur bullshit clown the first thing that you see. I'm sorry, but Jefferson Starship is not a hot enough band in this day and age to get people to stay tuned to this when they see this fucking guy mope into the ring with his fucking face on. And then here comes the best wrestler in the world, the multi-million-dollar acquisition. The grinder himself, all the way from across the pond, Will Ostrich, comes out in his ostrich feathers. So he's secondary to Wouldn't it be the first thing we see? Wouldn't he be the big fucking star? But no, it's the guy that the owner dressed up as at Halloween. And then out comes Ostrich, who's not there to kick the shit out of the guy that sticks his hands in his pockets. They've made them partners. Now they are partner. You remember that hot tag team of Stone Cold Steve Austin and the Brooklyn Brawler. And actually, I'm sorry, that's an insult to the Brooklyn Brawler. He could work. He was a nice man. And they're partners, and they're maybe being managed, although we don't know, by the evil heel manager Don Fallis, who calls both guys while he's sitting on color my guys. And he does manage Ostrich, who's the most popular guy in the company. So he's managed by the heel manager. And Fallis was whispering to Pockets and put his arm around him last week on TV. So these two baby faces are going to wrestle Roderick Strong and Trent. And with Taven and Bennett in the corner, being completely wasted as, well, they would never mean anything again now in wrestling after being exposed on this television like they have been. So I will recap the situation here. The newest high-priced sign talent, the best in the world, is teamed with a comedy goof against two guys that have... Roderick Strong is the best worker in the match, in my opinion, but he's totally useless now due to the way that he's been presented since he's been here. And the other guy is a comedy goof at best. And again, Trent now and his mother and the minivan and whatever. No. So they've stuck their top guy in with preliminary guys. It would be if the team was Stone Cold Steve Austin and the Brooklyn Brawler, they're wrestling Kai and Ty. And why do they put him in these positions? Because it means something for both of the pay-per-view matches. Not only Ostrich and Roddy, where Ostrich wins a title that they made up a while back that nobody gives a shit about. And also Pockets is going to have his blood feud with Trent because they're not best friends anymore. So they're burying our boy Will here into all of this fucking indie level bullshit. And did you hear Don Fallis do my line?
No, what did he say?
What did I always say about Paul E? I always said Paul E.
He's fat. What you said?
No, not recently. What I've said for years before he was bald and fat. Paul E would rather climb a tree and tell a lie than stand on the ground and tell the truth. And Fallis did it about Trent. But anyway, I have a hard time trying to critique this like a legitimate match because it would dignify the bad joke. But at the bell, the instant four-way on the floor and in the ring, 2 dives within 30 seconds. On fast forward, it looked like they were letting the mascot do all his goofy shit. That's where I first saw the Cornette is God sign. And I appreciate the entrepreneurial spirit and the overall sentiment that the gentleman who was holding it was expressing, but I don't think I'm God because I really exist. But we know where you were going with that. And finally, Ostrich dives on Taven and Bennett out on the floor, and here comes Wardlow. I forgot he was still there. Has he still been there? Is he hurt? What's the matter with him?
I don't know.
Well, he just showed up and he leveled Will. And then...
Remember, this was the lead heel stable after they turned on MJF. It was the Devil and his henchmen.
Well, the Devil went back to Georgia because he was looking for time to heal.
Devil went back to Britt Baker.
And she's probably now thinking, I should have stuck with dentistry. But Wardlow comes out and he levels Ostrich and throws him in the ring. And then he was just a guy that was holding people from that point. And Trent and Roddy were double teaming pockets, and they pinned him 1, 2, 3. And then all the heels got on Ostrich, and then Roddy hits him with the title belt, and he gets color. He gets bleeding a gusher. Again, for this is supposed to be their new guy. If they're not crazy, he's going to be winning the world title some kind of way at Wembley Stadium. And he's bleeding. They're beating the shit out of him too, underneath fucking heels. And Trent choked out pockets, and Roddy gave a big backbreaker to Ostrich, and they left him laying a bloody fucking mess. Your thoughts?
I don't really watch Orange Cassidy matches. I don't care who they put him in there with, so I didn't pay too much attention, and I think part of the problem is that a lot of the other former viewers or viewers of AEW feel the same way, and the ratings have bared that out, and for some reason, Tony keeps going back to this like it's his mantra. I didn't really pay too much attention. Also, I want to say, we're going to do our best behind the scenes, but there will be some audio issues on Jim's end that we're currently dealing with, so I just want to let everyone know we're aware of them and we are working on them.
It's all my fault. It's always Spectrum's fault. I'm paying for everything I can goddamn pay for. They can't charge me anymore for the goddamn internet that they're providing me, than what they do now.
But, you know, Ospreay is a star. Ospreay's great. And he was in there with Orange Cassidy, who I think a lot of fans are sick of. Trent Beretta, who no one really cares about. Now he's feuding with Orange Cassidy. And who was the other person? It was Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong, part of the Devil stable. Adam Cole's not even there. No one takes any of this seriously. No one took him seriously ever since he was in a wheelchair screaming out people's names. Not good. Not a good way to start the show.
And you know what? I just realized this. Bobby Eaton had a superstition. Bobby Eaton would never sit in a wheelchair. If guys were doing wheelchair races with some stray wheelchair in the back, no, he'd fucking jump away from it. If it was the only place to sit and both his legs were broken, he would not sit in a fucking wheelchair. Because he would say, you're going to burn the bread on yourself, which means you're going to jinx yourself. Well, there Roderick Strong did the goddamn wheelchair bit in that group all that time. Adam! And Adam Cole ended up in the wheelchair. For real. There's something going on there. You can't tell me there's not something going on there, Brian.
Well, actually, I can. There's nothing going on there. Not even about what you're saying. Just in general, there's nothing going on.
Well, that's true. Nothing going on there. Okay, speaking of nothing going on, the premise that caused the Buckaroos to be in the building that night, they're running the show again. Tony Khan is off somewhere in Jacksonville, we assume, whatever. And they've got a bunch of indie security guys, and they're doing a whiny promo. They're passing out Darby Allin's picture. He has been barred from the arena. He's not allowed in tonight. Don't let this guy in. And then Sanjay Dutt walked in and told them, and again, this is the Sanjay doing the comedy. It's comedy on top of comedy. This was hat on a hat. You've got comedy figures in the Buckaroos and a comedy figure in Sanjay, and together they do the comedy about Zippy the Giant Pinhead in the main event tonight taking care of Bryan Danielson. But then we went back out to unless you have anything to add to this, that was the setting up the premise. We'll see the Buckaroos again.
Yeah, they're doing themselves no favors, and having Sanjay show up did not say, oh boy, this is going to be something good.
Why can't they even act? Let me try. There's so multiple. Act like a gentleman is not like acting and actors. Let me try to phrase that. Why can they not perform like they are serious at what they are doing, which would still be acting, but it wouldn't be acting badly on purpose? See, this makes your head hurt. Why are they doing this where you specifically don't believe they mean anything they say, and they are not trying to take it seriously?
because they can't, and they're not talented enough to do that, to actually do a work that works. I'll say this too, and I've always in the past said good things or had compliments at times about Nick Jackson for his athleticism. He, as a scumbag lackey heel, there's something there. The problem is his brother has go-away heat with more people than they realize. Because Nick Jackson can hide the bad acting because he's a dimwit and he comes across as a dimwit. The other one is clearly the leader of the two, and he's the worst actor. He's the one with the bad stutter. He's the one who goes out there and hams it up for the camera. The fans don't give a shit anymore. So just want to say that because I do think that's an important thing. The Bucks don't have any heat, but specifically one of the Bucks, I think, has a lot of go-away heat with a lot of the audience.
And the other one would make a good slimy flunky.
Yeah, he'd be a really good slimy flunky. You're trying to cause some trouble. You call out your men. He comes out there, looks like a dirtbag, takes a few good bumps. You don't, because you sent your flunkies out there. I think you would work like that.
I got no problem with that. See, now that's an example of being used as you really appear rather than as you delude yourself to believe you are. But speaking of delusional, after all this time, they're still going to let Jay White talk. And Jay White and the Gun Boys have some personality. And I think out of everybody that's been on this program, they've probably done the least amount of damage to the Guns because they hadn't been on TV before. And they, even though, their matches have been booked the same way as everybody else's, they actually it works when they do stupid things because they look like two lunkheads and they work their ass off. And they can talk a little bit, but being next to Jay White and he's doing most of the talking, it's a death spot. And so there's fucking the light switch, Jay White himself droning on. And the atmosphere was like was it a library or was it an operating room? I swear I was hearing something in the back go, beep, shh, beep, shh. And they're doing a promo about Pac. Oh, joy, oh, bliss. And at one point, the promo was not good and it didn't make a lot of sense to me, but I zoned out, but it seemed like it was going on fairly endlessly. But the people were so quiet, like you could hear murmuring and individual cell phone fucking, buzzers going off. And then suddenly Jay White finishes a sentence and one of the fans screams, "Who wrote this shit?" And it popped the fucking people more than his promo had been. And they start giggling, not about what he's talking about, but what the fucking hecklers are saying.
He is such a bad promo. And, we heard that he was a good promo coming out of New Japan. We didn't watch that stuff. He has nothing to say, takes forever to say that, but he also does it almost like he's rhyming and singing, but he's not. I am number one, the bang bang man. I am banging, bang, 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 bang. He's just saying shit. You don't even know what he's talking about. No one gives a fuck. That building went silent. You heard that guy? You're not exaggerating. Everyone heard, who wrote this shit?
Yeah.
That's not what you want in the middle of your wrestling show.
And by the way, you may have buried the lead there with the way you started. You said, yes, everybody said he was great. He was a wonderful promo in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that means that he was established an English-speaking man as a good promo in a non-English-speaking country. As long as he goes to places where they don't speak English, I bet you he sounds great.
I'm the bang bang man. I am the man who does this. I will tell you I'm great. Everything, he's like singing it, but he's not singing it. But he also says nothing. He's like Shivani as a wrestler. He just says absolutely nothing.
My heart went bang, shang-a-lang, bang, shang-a-lang.
This will be a great night for everyone. The greatest night ever. Bang, 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 bang. Shut up. You're so bad at promos. Get off the mic. Don't do this anymore.
Oh, but he will, because suddenly Pac appeared on the screen to very little reaction. And said, well, you're not the only one with friends, or it's 3-on-1 or whatever the fuck it is. And the lights go out. And then the dramatic mood lighting comes on, and it's Felix and Penthouse. The Lucha Brothers are back, baby. Now with Alex.
The Visa Brothers.
Hey, there you have it. Well, one of them's MasterCard. And then the three of them run to the fucking ring, and they have a really sloppy fight, and the heels bail out, and Pac challenges for a 6-man title match at Double or Nothing. Oh joy, oh bliss. Did we know that was coming? We previewed that show already. Are they? And do you know they have on my? I'm going to ask you 7 questions in a row and not let you answer a goddamn one of them. Do you know, are you aware, are you cognizant of the fact?
I'm worried. I don't know.
That I looked on the guide, and they have an hour-and-a-half pregame show. Well, on mine it says 3 episodes of Countdown, which is the old pay-per-view fucking, Barker show thing, but an hour-and-a-half window of pre-show to try to sell you the show, and then a 4.5-hour window on the pay-per-view. That would be 6 goddamn hours straight for those hardy souls, those brave explorers who dare to go where no fucking decent human has ever gone before, and watch 6 hours this shit. The people that go to the pay-per-view are going to have to watch this shit for an hour and a half before they see the start of the pay-per-view?
Yeah, and I get a kick out of RJ City, but if you ever want to miss Todd Pettengill and Stephanie Wyan, go watch him and Renee Paquette hosting the pre-show. Unwatchable.
You know what? Todd Pettengill was an underrated talent. Not anything related to wrestling, but he was a talented guy. But Stephanie
Wyan.
Yeah, not McMahon. Why? Some of you are made too. She was brief there.
Yeah.
But she was very brief. But nevertheless, they hit the ring and they fight and they challenge, and then the pay-per-view gets ever longer.
No, we didn't know that was going to be on the pay-per-view. Literally, when we previewed it, we both said, every time they add matches at the last minute for no good reason, I'm sure they'll do it here. And here's the first one.
Well, apparently the reason is to fill up 6 fucking hours. And I don't know what matches are going to be on which, but I'm concentrating on the top 4.5, baby.
You feel burned out sitting at home? Wait until you're in the arena.
Yeah, good Lord. What the fuck is the matter with any of these people?
Wear a diaper. Never leave your seat. AEW Double or Nothing.
God.
Paradise, Nevada.
They're gonna hand out free razors from Harry's at ringside. People are gonna have to shave in between fucking matches. And especially the fucking women. So then the next match was Hook versus Brian Keith versus Shapoopy with Chris Jericho on color. And apparently the winner of this match was supposed to get a FTW title match with Jericho on the pay-per-view. And now Jericho is calling it the For the World title. It's for you. So basically, the match does not need to be dignified with description. But finally, Shapoopy got a figure 4, kind of, on Brian Keith. But then Hook comes from behind and gets a choke on Brian Keith. And Brian Keith taps out to both things with both hands at the same time. And the
talented man.
Yeah, and I'd like to see him rub his head and tap out on his belly, though. Now that would be, what kind of athlete are you, motherfucker? Rub your head and tap out on your belly. And then the corpse referee was in there, so of course he raised both guys' hands, and the fans kind of lightly groaned and then started chanting, "Let them fight," because they're like, "What the fuck?" And then
you're getting more AEW fans groaning at these shows than ever before. It's audible; you can hear it.
And you know what? I can see where that somebody could have made and remember I've said before, I've told a story where every idea I've ever heard anybody pitch, there was some element of it that they could at least convey was if it was done right, it would be good somehow, right? There's something to it, right? Any serious fucking idea. I can see where they sold the idea this could be good, but not with Hook and Brian Keith and Shapoopy. If you had done this at one point with Ric Flair and The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, I don't fucking know. But it might very well have got over. It's not just but in this underneath fucking match to further fucking Jericho's issue that nobody wants to see or be a part of. It was just, come on.
And the Jericho act is so close to the Young Bucks act right now in terms of the way he's behaving and treating the fans and the disingenuousness. So it seems even more lame. And we just saw him weeks ago not behaving like this. So he's coming out there. The sad thing is, this is Chris's pathetic way of trying to lean into all the legitimate criticism about him for years now at this point.
Because he thinks that, well, yes, whenever they say that on Twitter or they say this on the air or whoever says this wherever, well, yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm going for. No, it preceded the gimmick. The cart is following the horse's ass or something like that.
Yeah, please retire is not a chant for an endearing heel or a heel that you boo, but you may still want to see him on TV get his ass kicked. That's for someone you want off TV. Someone as a fan, you groan and go, oh, it's the Jericho segment. And, slowly but surely, reality's starting to slap Chris Jericho in the face because he's lost the AEW fans. And just like Tony's booking, this ain't going to get better. This is going to get worse. He's been in an endless midlife crisis since before he was in his midlife crisis. So now he's going to really start being desperate, and it's going to be bad stuff. That's what I would think.
Are you saying he's had an early life crisis?
I'm saying he went into his midlife crisis like in his 20s. It was something he was running from. And I think now it's really, really bad, and he's having a tough time. Someone who always had the good graces of a lot of fans has burned that out. And now he has to try to survive without a rabid fan base for him. He hasn't really had that before.
Do you think that translated to the production truck or even Tony at this point? Because after the match, Jericho's on the mic and he's doing the cheesiness. Well, thank you very much. And I'm great and blah, blah, blah. And Tony Schiavone, at first I thought, can he hit his mute button? Does he not know his mic is on his headset? But he was talking like he's talking to the producer. And then he says it while Jericho is still talking. I just got a text from Tony Khan. It's a 3-way for the FTW title because there was 2 winners of the match, Hook and Shapoopy. And with Jericho still talking, and they started playing the music. It was like they did everything but the old fucking hook around the neck. Get him off the stage. The announcer starts talking over him. They play the fucking music. He's still on the fucking PA mic. Anyway.
I love AEW production issues.
Did you like the production then of Willow Nightingale and the Mercedes Moon package? Where now I guess they've realized that Mercedes has not met expectations in a lot of people's eyes, and they've already turned her heel, and she's talking like a heel. And they show Willow beating her in New Japan Pro Wrestling in Los Angeles or wherever the fuck it was with a power bomb. Boom, 1, 2, 3. They never showed the injury. They just showed Mercedes being carried out afterwards, and they can't show the injury because, as we were reminded the other day, she did it herself. She fell off the fucking top rope and broke her own fucking ankle. Willow didn't have anything to do with it. So, and then they recapped all their AEW stuff, but is this the weirdest goddamn I'm coming to get even with you for breaking my insert bone here that you've ever seen in your life?
Everything on Mercedes Monet's been done so poorly, and unfortunately, it's stunting Willow Nightingale's development right now, being tied to all this. You know, the pay-per-views are right outside of Vegas. I think they had just under 5,000 tickets, or maybe in that range. So it'll be a big crowd for them. You have to think some people are flying in. If there was ever a crowd that may be receptive to Mercedes, it would be a crowd with people flying in, you would think. Because if this match was on a Dynamite, I think Mercedes would get booed out of the building for Willow.
No, I think you're right. I think that anytime it's a fly-in crowd, they're going to cheer for Mercedes Moan, because you would have to be a human being with wings to, at this point, want to cheer for Mercedes Moan. So every human being with wings will be cheering for her.
Well, of course, that match will be coming up on the big pay-per-view this weekend, and it is a big holiday weekend here in the States, as we are getting prepared for right now. It's a time for celebration and relaxation. The kids are home from school.
Yeah.
Maybe you have an extra day. Maybe it's a Friday off or a Tuesday as well. Whatever it may be, you need food. You have to feed all these people that are suddenly around, these freeloaders with nothing to do. And I don't know who I'm putting down exactly, but ladies and gentlemen, we have a solution that I'm starving for right now.
We have a solution to just let me take over from here. You've done enough.
Thank you.
You've got us here. Let me start swinging that shovel and dig us out. I'll tell you who we can start forgetting about feeding is those daggum grubby little crumb-snatching children. They're home from school. They're wanting to eat all the time, all day, every day at the house. They're eating everybody out of house and home. You know, those children, they'll eat like cats and dogs. So what you need to do is you need to send the children out for something for the parents. Or you don't even need to send them out. They do not have to go out these days, these children, because they know how to work the interwebs. So get them on the interwebs and have them go to omahasteaks.com right now, because not only is it Memorial Day coming up, and it probably will be by the time you hear this, but every day is a good day to eat steak. But also you got Father's Day coming up. How else are you going to please good old Pop than to get the children out of his way and give him some meat? And that's exactly what the two things right there. Send the children out, and then they'll bring back the meat. And the Father's Day experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to put a smile on Pop's face this summer, because they've got hand-selected gift packages. I'm rubbing my hands together right. Do you hear that? Right now.
Your hands are modulating. Can you stop that?
Would you quit that?
Hey.
They're greedily anticipating the hand-selected gift packages of Omaha Steaks from the Father's Day experts over there. They are starting. You can go as low as $89, folks. $89 for a box of meat delivered to your door that you can cook and consume in this day and age is outrageously cheap. And if you go to omahasteaks.com and use the promo code JCE at checkout, you're going to get an additional discount when you shop the various gourmet gift packages for Father's Day. And we're talking about juicy pork chops, air-chilled chicken, beefy burgers, as well as the incredible thing that they are known for, the big old sides of beef known as the Omaha Steaks. And I'll tell you what, whether you cook it rare, medium, well done, or knock the horns and bring it out on a leash, either way includes the Omaha Steak seasoning that would make a piece of tire just taste just fine. Have you ever done that before, Brian, when you were grilling pieces of rubber tire? Put some Omaha Steak seasoning on that thing?
We don't do that up here in the Northeast. I can't really speak to how you guys in the South do things, but of course...
It must be a Southern tradition at all cookouts to grill up some tire.
But
I'll tell you what, the Omaha Steak seasoning makes even that taste good. So if you put it on actual cattle byproduct, boy, you're going to be farting through silk, literally. But dads want steak for Father's Day. Well, you should have got mom some meat for Mother's Day. I mean, everybody likes to eat, right? Give mom some meat next year. Mark that down. That's in May. give mom some meat. But right now, give dad some beef, some chicken, some pork. Any animal with a leg can come from omahasteaks.com right now. And you're going to get an additional discount if you use the promo code JCE to save on exclusive packages starting at just $89 for all these various cuts of beef and poultry and pig and cow and duck, ocelot. There's an awful lot of things at Omaha Steaks. It takes all kinds of critters to make Omaha Steaks fritters at omahasteaks.com. Promo code JCE.
That's right. My favorite of those Franks. They have those jumbo Franks, the most underrated hot dog out there. They're fantastic.
As a matter of fact, and they're so plump. Plump, I say, plumper than the Pillsbury Doughboy. Those big, you bring the Franks, I'll bring the beans.
All right. Omaha Steaks, welcome back to the show. We're happy to have you guys back, and delicious food that we love here at the house, and so do they at the House of Cornette. I can't speak. I don't know what's happening
with you.
Back to you. It's your show.
No, it's not. Again, you keep blaming me. But the next match on AEW Dynamite was Matt Sydal against, again, Don Fallis presents from the Don Fallis family. Our friend, your friend, we all scream for him. Take a shit. Who now is... Besides the fact that Don's out with baby faces 1 minute, heels the next. Nobody knows why. It's never been explained. He has them fight each other. That went apparently nowhere. And now, when were we talking about backwards booking, Brian? When were we talking about how that Tony always starts people out where they should end up, and then 6 months later, they're doing the shit they should have started out with?
We've talked about that a bunch lately.
Okay, well, our boy Take wins with a forearm smash. He wound up like he was going to throw the goddamnedest right hand punch to the mush that you've ever seen anybody throw since goddamn Mike Tyson, and then hit him with a forearm and boom, and it knocked Sydal out. And Shivani jumped in, and this is how he thought was selling the forearm is even more dangerous. Yeah, he hit him right with that pad on. Yeah, he hit him with a padded forearm. That makes it much more dangerous than a naked forearm. Call attention to the fucking pad. God damn it. Tully Blanchard would have been ashamed of you, Tony. But anyway, in 1 minute, he knocks the guy out with a forearm, so he's going backwards too. This should have been his first TV match. You start somebody out that you want to push straight off the bat, that you want to establish as a star, as a valued quantity, and a commodity. He wins fairly quickly or fairly easily a number of times to establish that he's somebody, and then he gets competitive. And it takes him longer to beat him, and just by the skin of his teeth, and he has to cheat, and then he starts losing. You don't have him lose first and then get competitive and then goddamn have him do squashes. Or have I just not been paying attention for the past 48 fucking years?
And there goes that fucking bird. And this is the reaction of Takeshita complaining about the booking.
Oh, I forgot about that. So Tony's okay. I'll throw him a bone. He's unhappy, so I'll give him a good win. But now this makes more sense because he complained, so he got the 1 minute squash match in Tony's mind. That's like, okay, now he won't have any reason to complain anymore. And then what happens next is when you complain. Because here comes Moxley to the ring, the big entrance through the people, with the microphone, and gets in the ring and has the face off and acts like he's going to say something and just punches Take a Shit in the face with the microphone and knocks him out. And Tony Schiavone, as one of the announcers, reacts to this with, "Oh, that was great." And so this guy takes one shot with a microphone from this fucking bandy-legged, bow-fucking armed goddamn plumber and sells it bigger than fucking Pockets sold a pile driver on the steel stairs last week. And then Moxley staggers around him and says, "I'm going to see you at Double or Nothing," and then leaves out through the rest of the fucking marks. So he is sorry, Takeshita. I didn't mean to insult you with my booking of you. So here, let me give you a good solid win, and then I'm going to have this fucking indie level fucking pale jack off come and knock you out with one punch in the middle of the goddamn ring.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else I could really add to that. It was kind of ridiculous to have his music play for this, but no one could come to the ring without their music playing in AEW.
Well, but now do you think anybody else is going to complain about the booking on Twitter? Or face the one-punch knockout from the plumber?
I don't know.
Well, you want to check back in with the world champion of this operation?
The world champ, not John Moxley. That's the IWGP champion. You mean Swerve Strickland?
Yeah, I mean the AEW world champion, the secondary. He's on the B shows. When the main crew's in Atlanta or Charlotte, he's going to be in Gainesville, Georgia. At the 9:00 hour, they decided to feature in a match, TV match, their world champion, Swerve Strickland, against a 19-year-old teenager in a competitive classic. Nick Plain. Nick Plain is the flunky for the group composed of Christian Cage, and he's the patriarch of Nick Plain, and he's somehow a lizard's father, and he's the son of a jackal. And Nick Plain's mom is in there. She's doing something with somebody behind the scenes. Where the inference is somehow. And so there's been heat before between them, but that was when Nick Plain, they thought, was going to be the babyface and Swerve was the heel. So yes, Swerve did invade his home, his training area, and bloody him with the picture of his father and all this other shit, right? But now Swerve's the babyface world champion, and Nick Plain is the obnoxious fucking heel sidekick in the Christian group. And so this should have been something where Swerve kicked the shit out of this motherfucker, shouldn't it? Shouldn't it?
Once again, Swerve should have had a very quick win over somebody, which he hasn't had against anybody since he won the title. Even if you want to argue him having a long competitive match with Brian Cage. The way Nick Wayne's been used as the flunky that I mentioned earlier should have been a quick win. It shouldn't have been a competitive match against a teenager.
This is the
who's not Barry Windham. He's, it's not just against any teenager, but it's not
Terry Gordy.
Yeah,
he ain't Terry Gordy. But that's what he's the guy that when they hold the fucking baby face, he jumps up and does a flippy do thing to him or whatever. But that's the point, is that it doesn't have to be a quick win. And a lot of people say, wow, that sounds boring. No. Have Swerve for all that they have done to him. He gets this fucking guy all to himself. Have him tear into the fucking guy and beat him the fuck up for a few minutes. They spent 2 or 3 minutes on the floor while Aubrey Ed stood and stared at him. And then the skinny 19-year-old kid takes over and starts kicking the shit out of the world champion. Instead, you could have Swerve hit the ring and, like I said, kick the shit out of it, but shoot him by backdrop, body slam, drop kick, fucking savate kick, goddamn wrestling moves. The guy can beg off. Oh, shit. A lot of that type of thing. Go out, bang his head on the table a time or two, throw him back in. After 3 minutes, let him poke a finger in a fucking eye for a second, but goddamn Swerve comes back and is ready to put him away. And here comes the other fucking heels and jump Swerve. Because instead, They went back and forth for I don't know fucking how long, including Swerve giving Nick the double stomp finish off the apron onto the floor and then rolling him in and having Nick foil the very next fucking move and get a 2 count on him. And then they finally, that's what happens. Swerve kicks Nick in the head, 1, 2, 3, and then the heels jump him. So why not just get straight to the heels fucking jumping him? God damn it. And then Swerve shit-canned Dino and chased Cage out of the arena and threw the back in a low-speed run and Christian carjacked an SUV and tried to pull out, but another car pulls up and blocks him, and that's Prince Nana. And boy, when they rent vehicles to do parking lot shoots, they want to make sure they get their money, don't they? There was all kinds of cars being driven by all kinds of people. But anyway, so Swerve catches Cage and pulls him out of the SUV and beats him up and DDTs him on top of the SUV and then missed a chair shot where he on the hood of the thing and Christian ran off. So now at least they didn't leave Swerve laying this week. But God, in trying to course correct and show that he had some balls, is there still any heat left for the goddamn pay-per-view? Do they have to go from one extreme to the other? You've emasculated him, ripped his hair out, tried to steal his teeth, and just immobilized him and left him laying like a piece of shit 3 weeks in a row, leading up to the pay-per-view. At least maybe they'll pay to see him get even. Instead, he beats everybody up and gets even on TV. What else? He could have killed him, but short of that, I don't know what to say.
This feud has been terrible. They have done nothing they've made Swerve a mid-carder as the world champion. And I think a lot of it is they should have expected that, just putting him in a feud with Christian Cage at this point in time, quite frankly. But then the way he's been treated in this feud, I've never seen a world champion win a title and they get treated like this ever. Well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. I haven't seen anyone who ever had a champion they treated with respect and cared about do this, because Vince has insulted plenty of champions.
Yeah, Vince has insulted everybody. But here's the thing. Swerve was cooling off before they made the move to put the belt on him. And I think if you trace it back, sticking Page in the middle of that fucking deal was the beginning of Swerve not being as over as he once was, wasn't it? The 3-way for the title.
I would argue Page not being there after being so involved also hurt everything. And that may have been, or you would think that could have been, the feud that Swerve would have gone to if Page hadn't disappeared. And I thought about this the other day too.
Well, but I just thought, where is fucking Page?
I don't even know. It was a personal issue, a family issue. But I also think it hurt the Bucks.
What is he having the baby? How many months can a personal issue take? I'd forgotten completely about him.
I also think it hurts the Bucks and everything they're doing. If they had had Adam Page there with him, it would have at least had a little more credibility. Instead, it's just them and Jack Perry and Okada, who's, I hate to say it, he's almost like the comedy figure because he's so out of place.
Well, he's the adult chaperone. He's they got the boy band, but you got to have somebody over 21 to be able to fucking rent the cars and shit, right? But that's with Swerve, is if they'd have gone straight to Swerve and Joe and put the belt on Swerve, I believe he would have been much better off than when they went to that 3-way, muddied it up, and then put it on him later or whatever. By then it was starting to cool off because they'd found a new toy. Because everybody cheered for Ostrich when he came in. And they'll probably bury that in about 4 to 6 weeks if they are according to form. But anyway, you going to say anything about Malachi Black's match otherwise than it happened?
No, not really. To me, the match wasn't the important thing here. It was the post-match, which gave bad memories of WCW to some people.
Yeah, and this is one of the things I mentioned earlier. I'm trending right now because their television program was rotten. And this is when I got up this morning, because the show was last night. I said, I can't watch this live. I don't have the energy. Or like I did the last couple of weeks where I'd, wait till 8:30 and pick it up where I could zip through some commercials and shit. If I'd have done that last night, I'd have been highly upset. Because, gee, when I got up and saw Twitter, this was one of the things that people were citing is, oh my God, look at this. The flashbacks, the imagery of what did they say? The overbookedness of the demise of WCW and Malachi Black kicks Kyle O'Reilly in the head and beats him 1, 2, 3. And then suddenly the lights go off. And now the whole ring is bathed in red light. And then the lights come back on regular. And then red slime from fire hoses that appeared from the ceiling shot down on Malachi Black hard enough to give him brain damage.
Shot
and he
down.
Took a bump.
Oh.
What did they have that shit in? It was and I know people. No, listen to me. I know people are going to say, well, it's a thing, the Brood, right? Edge and Gangrel and Christian, the red lights, the vampire thing, and the blood, but it looked more like what they would fucking do in WCW when blood just started, or slime, different colors of things, started dropping from the ceiling, and sometimes the guy'd be standing there and it would drop like 5 feet to the right of him, and he'd just turn and look, oh, what the fuck? Because they wouldn't measure it right or whatever.
I half expect to find out that Malachi got hurt from the blood hitting him. It hit him with such force.
I don't know what the fuck. Because it looked almost like they was coming up out of the mat from fountains. That's how tubular the liquid still was. But it had to knock the teetotal shit out of him. And so then they get a shot from one of the handheld ringside cameras of Malachi Black all drenched and down in this blood or this slime or whatever. And the screen comes on and you see it's going to be somebody's feet. And it's going to reveal who it is. And it's just a random cameraman on the other side of the ring walked right into the shot they had and covered the fucking screen up. God damn. They switched off that real quick. Like, what the fuck? And it looked like they were trying to play fucking shadow puppets on Edge's goddamn video. And it was Edge on the screen telling Malachi Black to be careful what he wishes for, because elsewise we'll apparently shoot you with this goddamn liquid hard enough to give you brain damage if you wish for the wrong thing again. But it with this and some of the other things that's going to happen later on, people were saying, what in the world? The overbooked, incoherent mess that was the dying days of WCW and shit falling literally from the ceiling. And they're doing it. And, is this the end of times?
No, that'll be the media rights renewal. Times are still happening, but man, I went back and watched it a second time because the blood came down so powerful. I'm like, it almost knocked him out, you would think.
Yes.
What if he swallowed some of that shit?
God damn, if he'd have been like a turkey in a thunderstorm, he'd have looked up and drowned.
And by the way, we brought it up before just about violence at these shows. You heard the commentator say, oh, it's on me. If you buy a ringside ticket for a wrestling show, you're not signing up for that. This isn't a Gallagher concert.
Anyway, again, in the past, it's looked like somebody's turned like a bucket of paint over up in the top, or whatever. But this was a fucking projectile hose type of apparatus, had to be. And it had to splash. These people are less than 20 feet from the ring. It had to go somewhere. What's the dry cleaning bill going? Well, do any of these people have their clothes dry cleaned? Only the announcers, probably. Well, the next match on the lineup, Brian, as I mentioned, the The female talent in action. We had Toni Storm and Maria May against Saraya. She's still here. And Harley Cameron. She's somehow now a wrestling person. And they had in their corner Saraya's brother, and I'm not even kidding. Apparently now was Saraya mad at Tony's booking or something, so he gave her brother a job? What happened here?
Well, he did give her brother a job. I actually recently saw a video that was very sweet of her brother.
Whose brother?
It was her brother.
What now? Wait a minute. Is there some kind of intergender relationship going on here?
I don't even know how that would make any sense, but no, there's none of that. What I was saying was I saw a very nice video of her brother returning home after a month in the States. I think it was a month with AEW, and his children were just over the moon to see their dad. It was actually a very, very beautiful video.
After a month. Remember back in Daniel Boone's days?
I think it was a lot. Daniel Boone.
Back in Daniel Boone's days, when he set out from the cabin to walk to the goddamn Capitol up in Philadelphia back in those days, he was gone for 3 months. And then he'd walk back up and Becky would say, "Well, Daniel, you're home. It's only been 3 months. You walked to Philadelphia and back." Hey, he's got a goddamn cell phone. Of fucking British Airways flight, 8 hours each way, maybe more if he takes that fancy damn new supersonic transport. Anyhow,
I don't understand what your problem is. That his family were happy that he came home.
Well, yeah, he's not like he's been gone to war for years. He's been a POW held in a camp.
Kids. Hey, listen, if you had cameras at home for any of the territory guys when they came home, I'm sure their kids would have reacted very similarly. Very happy that.
Well, they would have said, "Who the fuck is that, Mommy? Who the fuck is this man broke into our house?" So anyway, they had this tag team match. And Toni Storm and Maria May won the match, and then suddenly Serena Deeb came in with a chair and knocked the shit out of Luther and hit Maria May with a fake gut shot to the stomach. I guess that does make sense. And then headbutted Toni Storm and then took her shoe off and drew back and knocked Toni Storm colder than a banker's heart with her shoe. And this got a smattering of boos from this bemused crowd. I guess now we've established this week she's a heel. If you knock somebody out with a shoe, well, that's just not cricket. And then she got a chair. And again, this is one of those things that I guess sounded good in concept, but she got the chair, and Toni Storm is laying on her stomach, and she puts the chair on Toni Storm's back and gets a half Boston crab while she's sitting on the chair that's on Toni Storm's back, but she's sitting on the edge of the seat, unlike the viewers. She's on the edge of her seat, so she's not cranking back on the crab as much as you normally crank back on a crab to make it a real cranky crab when you're putting it on with no chair in the middle. And then not only is Ref Aubrey Ed, but Paul Turner's in there. Both are just pleading with her with hands akimbo. Please let go. Please. He's a grown adult man. He could just pull her fucking off. Who writes this shit?
That is yet to be completely established. There are several suspects at several different points. And the crowd reactions.
Could that be the video game they make money with? A version of Clue?
Who writes this shit?
Who killed this shit? Go ahead.
The women's segment, though, again, the crowd reactions are not even what they are for the men's matches that the fans are disinterested in. So that's an issue right there. I watched this on mute after a while because I was trying to get some editing done. On mute, clearly Toni Storm and her heel faction are heels. And Serena Deeb, the babyface, got her revenge, just like Swerve did earlier. I kind of think to that argument last week, it's the same thing. Toni Storm is kind of still a heel. And Serena Deeb is the sympathetic babyface. They showed a video of like everything that happened. It's like, They kidnapped her dojo flag. Like, they're totally fucking with her.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the flag. The flag, yeah, the Tony Storm and Luther and Maria were holding up in the ring was the flag they stole, like good baby faces, from Serena, so she whacked them all and got it back. All by herself. Didn't need any help.
So she's the babyface.
But the people are booing the shit out of her for it.
They're booing this.
Ah. Well, would you like to talk about the main event, Brian? You can't do the show proper without talking about this main event.
What was the main event this week, Jim?
Well, Bryan Danielson, due to the chicanery and the tomfoolery and the evil treachery and profundity and etc. of the evil EVPs, Bryan Danielson, they got a hit out on him. They're going to take it out on him. They've got the biggest man in the world, baby. 7'6", 550-pound Zippy the Giant Pinhead, a.k.a. Thatnum Thing, with his accomplices Sanjay Dutt, Jeff Jarrett, and poor Jay Lethal, who at one point I would have predicted a brilliant career for in the professional wrestling industry, but not after he's been on this television. He survived everything else. He still could have been a contender. But those days are over. And the people were into this, but both because it's Bryan Danielson, who they love and respect, and because at least it was a ridiculous visual, right? That you had to kind of want to see what was going to fucking happen with this, right? But they've had 3 years with this guy, right? Or is it 4? How long's he been there?
At least 3. He was there. I mean, he predated Jeff Jarrett, right?
I think so, yeah, because he was with Sanjay.
So 2, 3, somewhere in there.
So he's not the worst ever, because they did simple, basic stuff that, you could basically teach a guy to walk through. But the problem is that's what he kind of was doing. He's kind of walking through it. He's not a natural. He has very little personality that he exudes. He's got an interesting face. I mean, he's so ugly. Last Halloween, a kid tried to pull his face off.
Oh, come on. Leave him alone.
But it's not expressive. He's not into it. He's not projecting menace when he's on somebody. He's not a growling person. He's a lumbering walk through this kind of thing person. He didn't do anything that made me think he might kill somebody, but it was overly safe, I think. Probably not from Danielson's standpoint. And then the problem became they were going to keep this short anyway, and they've got this brilliant angle that they're going to do afterwards. But they didn't even get to do everything they were going to do, because did you see Sanjay in the desk?
Oh, yeah, because I watched it, and then, of course, a lot of people sent me the clip right away.
Folks, if you haven't seen it, the best part of the match was when they're going to tease being chokeslammed through the announcer's desk or whatever, and Sanjay tries to clear the top of it off like you see everybody. I don't know why you're concerned about a motherfucker that you're about to chokeslam through a desk. Why are you concerned about his welfare? He's going to hit the sharp corner of a fucking monitor. But nevertheless, he swipes the fucking stuff off the desk, and the whole goddamn desk fell apart like a Laurel and Hardy movie where the wheels fall off and then the fucking hood bashes up and the goddamn fenders fall off.
A jalopy.
It just all came apart, and the fans started chanting, "You fucked up, you fucked up." They had to tease a choke slam on a fucking table that wasn't there anymore. And finally, then they took a turnbuckle pad off. They did it where the giant rips the turnbuckle pad off. Brian, did you see? There was another turnbuckle pad underneath it. I swear to God, go back and look at when the WWF does that spot, you see the metal ring, the end of the turnbuckle, right? They did this spot. They pulled the pad off. You saw another fucking pad under it. But they didn't use it anyway. But God damn. So then Danielson kicked the giant Pinhead in the balls and hit his knee on him and gouged his eyes and hit him with the yes kicks and hit him with the elbows and got him in a label lock. And then the other heels jumped him for the DQ and started beating him up. But Jeff missed with the guitar, and Danielson made a comeback and got the guitar and swung it, but Zippy punched the guitar, and they stopped Danielson again. And they're kicking I can't say kicking, it was a lackadaisical heat in the corner by this point. And the music plays, and here come, we'd like to welcome you to Munchkin Land. The Lollipop Guild in their douchebag suits, and they pay off Sanjay. They give him an envelope where he looks in and smiles at the riches contained. It was probably a fucking free coupon for Chuck E. Cheese. And then those heels leave, and the kids get on Danielson. And they're going to give him that shitty little double knee lift. But for the first time, and I got a kick out of this, I must admit, he moves and they need each other and sold their legs. And then he makes a comeback on them. But then Cody's music plays. And while the Japanese geriatric is walking down the ramp, Jungle Jackoff comes from behind and levels Danielson.
He's not geriatric. He's in his 30s.
He moves like a goddamn Alzheimer's patient, like a senior citizen, if he's not a paraplegic, if a quadriplegic has no use of all four of his limbs and a paraplegic is only two, what is it, a quintuplegic when you have no use of your arms or legs or head?
I don't even know what you're getting at here. He was walking to the ring.
I'm saying he's stupid. Starters. He's stupid. No, he moves like a fucking old man. He does nothing impressive. He's walking through this. He's not trying then.
Geriatric, you said.
And he give Danielson the short arm clothesline, and Danielson took the bump. He spun a flip for it. The clothesline looks like shit. And the announcers are screaming that everybody is powerless to do anything because they're EVPs. Well, Tony Khan's been texting instructions and making matches all night long. But now suddenly they're convinced that, well, what's Tony have to say? He ain't texting now. Oh, more on this later. So they take Danielson up to the stage, and they, like a magician revealing a goddamn cage with a lion in it, they jerk a tablecloth off, and there is a table. They left ringside where there were all kind of tables to go up here and jerk the tablecloth off a table. And they're going to throw Danielson through the table when suddenly on the screen, a car pulls up. And Darby Allin in a pink parka gets out with what looks to be one of those. You remember what the Super Soakers looked like, Brian, don't you?
Of course, we have a few here.
Well, he looked like he had a Super Soaker. And guess who was driving the car? Tony Khan is driving the car. Tony Khan is bringing the savior to save the day, and they do a fist bump. And Tony's got, I think he had sunglasses on, didn't he?
I believe he did, yeah.
He had the sunglasses on, diamond in the back, sunroof top, digging the scene with the gangster lean. Tony Khan is going to save the day. Hey, hey, diamond in the back, sunroof top, digging the scene with a gangster lean. And then Darby, and they all stand there in the ring to wait for Darby to come out. And when he comes through the entranceway, it's not a Super Soaker, it's a flamethrower. He's got a flamethrower, ladies and gentlemen. But he comes out to the stage and kind of the entrance ramp with the flamethrower, but he's clearly been told by all that's holy and every fucking law enforcement official in that goddamn town, you better not take that goddamn flamethrower to the ring or out in those people or anywhere around the fans, or we're going to fucking fine and suspend you and goddamn put you in the county jail. Because he has to stand there shooting the flamethrower up in the air and showing it's a flamethrower. And somehow one of the buckaroos was close to him, and Danielson grabbed him and threw him off through the table. But then everybody stood there in the same position for like 3 minutes as the heels couldn't go up the ramp because Darby had the flamethrower, but Darby couldn't go after him, so it looked stupid. Here's a guy with a flamethrower. Well, there's motherfuckers you want to incinerate. Go, knock yourself out.
It's an old-fashioned arson standoff.
An arson standoff. So, I know which arse was stood off. And that was the end of the show. But not the end of Tony, because after that he was revealed as the driver of the Savior vehicle, he had to tweet on Twitter, obviously, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I do have a valid driver's license. And that's another reason that we're trending. Because they're doing this show now apparently for us. Not for their fans, not for the goddamn audience that they have lost or the ones they hope to retain, but just to get even with us. Because what did we do?
Get even.
Well, what did we do 2 weeks ago or last week? We said, Tony Khan, you brought it up. How did we get into that? Does Tony Khan have a driver's license? And would you get in a car with him?
I said, do you think he's ever driven a car? And would you get in a car with him? And they answered the question, yes, he's driven a car. And who got in a car with him? The fucking Daredevil got in the car with him. Because who else would?
Yes. Maybe I'd ride with Buddy Landell before I'd ride with Tony. But so he tweeted, yes.
Even he's late to TV.
Yeah, there he had his own TV, too. At least he wasn't oversleeping somebody else's angle. But so this is where we're at here, flamethrowers.
Well, he's answering you. What do you have to say? He's showing you he has a driver's license. If he's going to answer these dares, Tony, you don't have the balls to give me $50 million to build my library.
No.
You don't have the guts.
And let me just say that Tony has showed me everything I need to know from the start about exactly what's going on with him.
Do you think Tony's ever eaten mushrooms and ran TV?
The mushrooms were probably likely.
What else can we get him to do? That's the question. What else can we get him to do now that he's showing us that he could drive? What else would he feel pride that he would have to show us?
I don't know. I think there'd be more thought put into all of this with mushrooms involved, wouldn't there? Much more thought.
More and less, and really in some ways less thought, more just going with it and feeling it and being one within it and understanding that you are one and all of us are one.
Well, you are me and me are we and we are me and we are all together. But at the same time, I beg to differ. No, I think that there would be an intricate, minute, granular amount of thought and preparation put into something of that nature. But that just depends on whether you're a fucking statistics nerd or a control freak on mushrooms.
Apologies for the noise. There are gardeners somewhere around.
Oh, God damn it.
Don't goddamn them. They're hardworking people. Not everyone has it easy like you.
Buy every surrounding property and just have everything cut down.
I don't think Tony Khan, well, I guess that's not the way to do it. Do you think Tony Khan, Jim, would give me the money, interest-free, a forgivable loan, to buy all the properties around me to ensure good recordings of this show?
No, he'd never do that. See, I'm using reverse psychology.
Yeah. Do you think Tony Khan would send a hitman to wipe out your neighbors so that you could take over their properties?
Nah, he'd never do that.
I thought you would say, hey, don't say that about my neighbors. I love these people.
What, you thought I would say that? What kind of fucking crazy goof are you?
All right, well, this was a match.
The last thing I'm going to say about fucking... All right, well, they're getting in the way of the birds.
You've run down the match. The gardeners are running down something out there. Danielson versus Satnam Singh. This is the payoff. This is the big El Gigante. Has been here for a while. Let's give him flair. This is the big payoff. What did you think? I mean, if there was anyone you would think they could convince themselves could get a good match out of him, it would be Bryan Danielson, you would have to believe.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a bad. Satnam Singh was not bad in this. The booking and the afterbirth and the run, all that stuff was just goofy and stupid. But no, a really good booker could get money out of Satnam Singh. If you saw him a few times a year and it was meaningful and impactful when you did, and you could bluff your way through it a little smoke and mirrors. And, over the course of, they've had him there for 3 years, you could have got probably 4 or 5 matches out of him that you could prominently put on a pay-per-view, either as a partner or as a hitman or whatever, with an accomplished manager that had serious credentials, with an opponent that obviously that could work with the very basics and make the size thing work, and built up and presented in the right way. But not after the first 3 or 4 times we saw him, that horse had already left the barn, because those 3 or 4 times would have to be, or 4 or 5 times in that 3 years would have to be the times you saw him.
I think they should go with this. I mean, they're desperate for ratings. Try anything. Tony Khan, you can't call it Taxi Cab Confessions. Tony Khan Confessions. And he drives the talent around. And we have to see what they react to, or how they react to life-threatening situations on the road while Tony talks to them. That is book.
Tony Confessions.
Tony Confessions. Son of a bitch. That's good.
And here's the thing. Again, just he can buy the rights to the Greg Kihn Band catalog and do all the album title take. Conspiracy, Tony Conspiracy, Tony Content, Tony
Conspiracy, yeah, not
Tony
Kihn.
Controversy. Whatever the case. See right
How
there.
How many Greg Kihn songs do you actually like other than, the 2? Other than
they don't ride.
Yeah, what's the name of that song?
Anymore.
The breakup song. The breakup song. Other than that, and Our Love's in Jeopardy, which the Weird Al version may be even better than the original. What are your thoughts on? Do you have any other Greg Kihn songs you like other than album titles you can name? Because it was like, this is ridiculous. It keeps doing this.
He went to that well until it was muddy and sloppy at the bottom. But we're not talking about his wife now. So, no, those are pretty much the songs you got going for you there.
This show sometimes, you never know when things will pick up, when the modulation will go away and things get happier.
And also, here's the thing. My closing comment on Dynamite, we are literally, again, witnessing this thing having a promotional equivalent of a nervous breakdown. And for the past 5 years, people thought I was the crazy one.
Well, you called it a long time ago. You called it at the beginning. You pointed it out, and
you don't need to reinforce the fact that everyone knows that I told them so, because I don't like people who say I told you so, especially when I told you so.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is at this time that we will travel to the future to get to the ratings of this show that we just reviewed. I want to remind everyone, a brand new Funniest Moments Volume 3 Omnibus is now available in your podcast feed under the Jim Cornette Experience and on the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. But with that, Jim...
Are these truly our funniest moments?
Volume 3, correct.
Volume 3. Well, in that case, it's going to be just dadgum knee slapping. Knee slapping and toe tapping.
Well, let's slap our way into the future right now.
Gripping tightly.
All right, groovy. Here we are in the future.
Yeah, this is either groovy or sermonette, as the Bobby the Brain might say.
Well, it's Cornette Sermonette here on the
on the mount.
On the mount,
I've mounted you.
Well, are you going to mount these ratings? That's the question.
Well, depending on how fucked they are, they might get mounted too. It's the punchline of that old joke. Well, son, I guess this just ain't your day. Fill in the joke in front of it, folks. I can't tell it on the air.
Well, we are on the air, and we talked about Dynamite, and we're back with the ratings. I mentioned that there was no real strong NBA shows. NBA shows, they didn't have a big season premiere. No, there were no big games, no big competition up against it. But actually, there was the Mavericks versus Timberwolves final game of the conference.
Timberwolves.
They drew 6.8 million viewers.
Well, boy, howdy.
On TNT.
I haven't heard numbers like that since the last time wrestling did them.
And the Rangers and the Panthers, the hockey game, 1.9 million viewers.
But now you're setting us up here, but let me say this at the outset. I know nothing. I see nothing. I don't know these numbers yet. We took the break. I've stayed away from the internet, the social medias, and I'm thinking in my head trying to predict this could go either way. Now, could the people be continuing to fall off the edge of the cliff because they're mind numbed to the constant array of mayhem, the violence for violence's sake, the lack of cohesive and coherent storytelling, the incredible logic gaps and holes, and the personally offensive characters that inhabit this program, and they're just like throwing up their hands like, fuck it, no, I can't take no more. I've had all I can stands. Or, on the other hand, did the freak show aspect, the giant 8-foot, 600-pound monster versus beloved Bryan Danielson, or have you ever seen a babyface save with a flamethrower? Although I guess they wouldn't have known about that. They'd had to already been watching. But just the goddamn incoherent, babbling spectacle of the thing may have drawn people back. It could go either way. Come see, come saw. I have no idea what kind of come it was. But you're going to tell us. And for this, Brian, I have consumed half.
You day drinking?
It's the nighttime now by the time these goddamn numbers came out. Fuck, it's dark in some parts of the goddamn world. I've consumed half a Snappy Pappy waiting on these goddamn numbers to find out exactly who can suffer through this besides us, the folks who get paid for it. So start reeling off them numbers.
Yeah, and I've got word here that Tony Khan plans to consume a Snappy Pappy next week on air, whatever that means. But Jim, the TV ratings...
I have a feeling he's almost consumed his own Pappy.
His Pappy's going to get snappy when he sees...
Yeah, his Pappy's getting snappy when he sees his goddamn net worth statement this quarter.
AEW Dynamite. We're having fun here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. AEW Dynamite. AEW Dynamite on TBS.
Pappy.
Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024, 8 to 10:03 p.m. On average, Jim.
Yes.
713,000 viewers.
Oh, boy. All righty then. What was last week? Because I used to say again every week, 800 and what thousand? And in the last few weeks, I've had to say 700 and what thousand. Last week, was it 600 and something thousand?
Last week was 672,000. This episode versus the trailing 4-week average, according to WrestleNomics, 692,000 was the 4-week average coming into this.
So this is actually up from what they've been doing, just not from what they historically did before the sky fell. Chicken Little.
The old lows are the new highs, and the
old. Yeah, the old high, yeah, whatever you said. What did you say?
Some way to get out of this. Words and a crash and a bang and... There's no sound
Words and
on.
phrases, loud noises. Where did they start?
AEW Dynamite. Hey, Pappy. Let's not get so snappy. AEW Dynamite on TBS, May 22nd, 2024. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. Once again, these were compiled by WrestleNomics. Roderick Strong and Trent Beretta versus Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay.
Jesus Christ.
With picture-in-picture ads. 794,000 viewers.
Okay, this is interesting to me, and they used to start with 900 and something thousand. And we said all along it was artificial. That was what they were being fed by the Big Bang. Has the appeal of the Big Bang somewhat worn off? I mean, it created all life, but still, everything has a shelf life. Or is it the sporting events that are taking viewers away from the Big Bang as well? Because, or elsewise, as I've said last week on a program or whenever, have they killed the ratings of the lead-in? The program is so bad.
Well, we will find out as soon as the NBA games stop interfering with the.
But nevertheless,
ratings,
it was a weekly. It was a weekly occurrence. They would start with 900 and something thousand, and then lose in 15 minutes 150,000 people. That you could understand, because the lead-in was giving them that audience, and they weren't retaining it.
Right
now, they're down to under 800,000 to start, and so they're not losing the giant percentage from start to finish. But as we said all along, that was an artificial bump to begin with, which is why we were doing our average rating, not including the first quarter. Now they've lost that advantage. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but that's why we always said the second quarter was really what was the true number. The true number they were starting at was kind of what would be there in the second quarter. We're not seeing that now. We're seeing the first quarter to be more reflective of where they're starting out.
The true arbiter of interest.
Quarter 2, 8:15, 8:30 p.m. The continuation of Strong and Beretta versus Cassidy and Ospreay, including the post-match with the Undisputed Kingdom. The Young Bucks and Sanjay Dutt play footsie backstage. The Jay White live promo and angle with Pac.
Who wrote this shit?
The Gun Club and the Lucha Brothers, followed by an ad break. 786,000 viewers.
Good Lord, that is a gift from the heavens, manna from above. How could they, when the people in the building are screaming, who wrote this shit, and otherwise silent, and they only lost 8,000 people? Boy, they ought to be down on their knees with their fucking prayers up and their hands in the air and their mouths open and whatever else you do when you're on your knees.
Quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. Katsuyori Shibata versus Brian Keith versus Hook. With
Ship-poopy.
With picture-in-picture ads. And Chris Jericho on commentary. And then a post-match with Chris Jericho. And the Willow Nightingale Mercedes Moné video. 706,000 viewers.
Well, now it begins, but I'm surprised they're still that high, but they lost 80,000 people and 88,000 from the start of the episode.
Well, that goes into quarter 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m. An ad break. Konosuke Takeshita's video. Matt Sydal versus Takeshita. The post-match with Big Mean John Moxley. And Swerve Strickland versus Nick Wayne, or at least the start of it. 710,000 viewers.
And they got 4,000 back. I mean, this is, piss break fucking fluctuation at this point. 4,000 people.
And that goes into the big 9 o'clock hour, quarter 5, 9 to 9:15 p.m.
Nana's coming back later.
Swerve.
No. We're glad that you came back.
Swerve Strickland versus Nick Wayne continued with picture-in-picture ads. And the post-match with Christian and his wacky, weird friends. 698,000 viewers. Also, 333,000 in the key demo. That's the high point of the key demo. But it says something.
It's the low point of the show so far.
Says something that the gap between the overall number and the key demo is getting smaller and smaller. So even if the network loves the key demo, if the overall number is just slightly above it, which is kind of where we may end up in a few months, may change things, but
has there ever been a situation where the only audience at all was the key demo?
We may find out soon enough. Jim, quarter 6, 9:15.
You know, a lot of people over 50 are saying life is too short to devote to this fucking thing. But go ahead.
No, they specifically said that in quarter 3.
Oh, okay.
That was the first life is too short for this shit moment of the show. But we go into quarter 6, 9:15 and 9:30 p.m. Malachi Black versus Kyle O'Reilly with picture-in-picture ads and the post-match with Adam Copeland and a bunch of blood shot out of a cannon. 688,000 viewers.
And they only lost another 10,000. I'm going to hold my comment till the end. Anything could happen, but go ahead. They're in the pocket.
Well, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m., quarter 7, an ad break. Mariah May and Toni Storm versus Harley Cameron and Saraya with picture-in-picture ads.
I thought it was Saraya.
631,000 viewers.
Ooh, okay, well, there's a hole in the pocket.
And the low point in the key demo, 287,000 viewers.
But now the difference in the low point and the high point is only 46,000 people? Well, son of a gun. That's a tight pocket there, too. Old tight pockets. I got one hand in my pocket and the other is stroking my penis.
That stroking continues into quarter 8.
Well, we're stroking here and there. We're stroking everywhere.
Quarter 8, 9:45 to 10 p.m. I remind you we have an overrun. The continuation of May and Storm.
It was only 3 minutes. It's more like a dribble or a leak.
The continuation of May and Storm versus Cameron and Saraya. The post-match with Serena Deeb. The Bullet Club Gold backstage promo. Bryan Danielson versus Satnam Singh, and the post-match with Sanjay Dutt, Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and the Young Bucks. 693,000 viewers.
Okay, so the freak show aspect of the size difference and the preposterosity of the whole thing brought back 62,000 people. That ain't bad.
3-minute overrun, 702,000.
And that's just 9,000 people wandering in, wondering where Modern Family is. But here's what I was going to say, and quarter 7 almost ruined it, but they came back, is that before we were looking at a program that was starting in the 900,000s and often finishing in the 7s and occasionally a 6, because there were people wanting to give it a chance, but it just kept more of the same or just blah, just people that wasn't ready for fucking television. And they would lose steadily. At one point, it was 35% of the audience they started with, right? Now, they seem to have settled into a pattern where this is I don't know they're going to go much lower until, I don't know, somebody drops down and just takes a shit in the ring on the air, and I don't know if that would do it, because these are the people in the entire country of 350 million people or more. There's 700,000 that will watch this shit just either hoping it's going to be good or they really do think it's good. And everybody else has said, what the fuck is going on here? So if you take out, as we were doing even the first quarter, and you take out the overrun, they still only lost less than 100 people, 100,000, but 786,000 to 693,000. This has to be the number of people that will watch this shit no matter what. But the problem is, that ain't the number of people that they goddamn had when they got what they got. So how do they think they're going to get more when they ain't got what they had?
And again, their viewership losses outpace the losses of people using cable television, the people dropping off that.
I think it outpaces the fucking people using food.
Well, it's not the end. They say women and children first, and the Young Bucks are still there. So we got a ways to go.
Hold on, wait a minute.
We got a ways to go.
Hold on. There you go.
Well, that was the review of AEW Dynamite. We hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you all for joining us here today.
Let's go back to where we were so we can get to where we need to go.
That's right. Back to, let's get some pleasant music here. Back to the future. Back to the past. We are in the future. Back to the past. All right, we are back in the past.
Good Lord, that sounded like Lucifer, J. Satan, and the devil worshippers.
It's more of a time belch than a time travel this week.
You know, how old am I now? We keep going ahead, but then back to where we started from. Am I aging during that point, or is this taking some time?
It's preserving you, actually.
Is it preserving me?
I just saw someone, now I can't remember who it was, but they had him on TV, and he looked like dog shit. And they're like, he's 65. And I'm like, holy shit. And then I'm like, Jim is just a few years younger, and he just seems so much more together than this fucking mess.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I always see people that are younger than me that look older than me, and I try to take solace in that at this point.
This Allegra commercial's on TV in the background. This is the most annoying commercial. This girl's like singing, but you don't hear it, so you just see her like singing at the camera.
Is that the one where, the little pill with the big story to tell, where everybody's so happy to be on the set shooting the commercial about the pill that makes everybody happy?
No, they've done a new version of that. Have you not seen the new one in The Office?
Oh, no, she was wandering around an amusement park or something.
No, that was just like the town square. That commercial was ridiculous. But they did another one, so that woman now, her royalties will soon be ending. They have another woman now, this is a redhead woman, and she's in an office, and it's the same song, but now all the people in the office are dancing too. And you realize watching this, there's something going on with the production. It's like, how do we make this awkwardly weird so that you can't look away and not say, what the fuck is this? There's a guy, a big guy.
A big guy.
He's trying to photocopy something and he can't get the photo machine to work. So the woman comes in and she plugs it into the wall. And then the guy's like, oh yeah. It's like, what the fuck is this? How did this get green lit?
And then she continues singing about the pill. Well, the reason, because you're look at all these stupid people, but it's a catchy song. Maybe I ought to take that pill for whatever it is that pill treats. And
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. And it's like, no, you don't manage it well. You're acting like a fucking obnoxious person. Go back to work.
You don't even know the goddamn words, the intro, much less the chorus. Holy shit.
It's nonstop, that commercial.
Well, but the thing is, that distracts from when they have to tell you legally in the fine print with the guy with the Federal Express voiceover that it may cause your fucking dick to burst into flames and your uterus to fall out your asshole. That's a couple of the side effects. That's why the people are dancing. See, there's another big story to tell about a lot of this fucking medicine.
And then Ozempic, you keep reading about this being the new weight loss shot, injection, whatever it is, and a lot of people are on it. Some people take too much, I guess, and get Ozempic face or Ozempic ass. But how do I know what that is? Because they used the song It's Magic. They just took that song and, Ozempic. Wait,
yes.
That's not you guys. You guys didn't write that song.
Can we get Pilot to fucking sing?
Right? 1974. How could you just take a hit from 74 and make it a weight loss drug?
Do you think there's anybody from Pilot still alive that signed off on that? Or was it somehow the estate of the drummer or something?
Well, that's what it is. The person still alive is the person cashing the check. They're like, you know what? Finally, I'll make some money back on this song. It took a while. We made some money then, and then it was like 40 years where, the royalties just rolled in, but they weren't that much. And now, thanks to this weight loss drug,
Thanks to a lot of fat people.
Until everyone starts dropping dead because of this weight loss drug, we're going to be making lots of money. That's what they're saying.
Imagine the alternative. You'd actually have to put the donut down rather than let your dick burst into flames and your asshole, or your asshole could fall out your asshole. I guess. I don't know.
I don't know what's happening over there, but Jim, there are lots of songs and commercials. We don't have one for DraftKings, but if you're going to bet on what the ratings will be next week to tie it back to whatever the hell we were just talking about in the past, if you had to guess, would they be up or down, in or out? That's probably not one of the things you could bet on.
In or out. DraftKings, it's a small app with a big story to tell.
No, you can't use their song.
Well, they're using somebody else's song, aren't they? Did they write that song just for that?
I have a feeling that one may be custom for that. Otherwise,
there's a lot of people with big stories to tell about little pills, and mostly in the wrestling business. But I'll tell you what.
Yeah, didn't Buddy Landell coin that line? I got a big story to tell about this little pill.
Yeah, well, he told some big stories, but the thing about DraftKings, who are an official partner of the NBA is going away pretty soon. The playoffs will be over with. Well, DraftKings, they have other partners, but right now they're sticking with the partner of the NBA, and they have come up with the new app. You know, the over/under game, where you bet somebody, hey, I bet I can do such and such in under 30 seconds, or hey, I bet it'll take more than 2 minutes for a grasshopper with a wooden leg to kick all the seeds out of a dill pickle. You've played that game many times. Well, now you can do it with the NBA playoffs because you get to pick between 2 and 6 of these players. Apparently, anybody in the NBA is open game. It's open season. You can pick any of them. And you can choose if they'll have more or less rebounds or points or assists or home runs or what else? How else do they score in the NBA?
Not home runs.
What are the other statistics?
Well, there's rebounds.
I said that.
Technical fouls.
There's one. How many times is the coach going to get punched in the face or thrown out of the game? That could be one.
I don't think that'll be one.
Well, nevertheless, you pick these things, and then you track your picks, and you play against other people who are picking their picks, and you get a shot to win huge cash prizes. That's the big part. You're going to win a bunch of money, as long as you pick appropriately. But first, you have to download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app and use the code JCE to get a shot at those huge cash prizes. Code JCE, DraftKings Pick 6. Brian, now explain to him how to download an app. I'll wait.
You go to your phone, you go to the App Store, and you download the app for the DraftKings Pick 6 app.
Now, do you have to take your phone all the way over to the App Store, or if you're just running by the bakery and you see the App Store right next to it, you stop in and you don't have your phone, can they still help you?
Yeah, it's not like that, and I think everyone knows how to do it. And of course, if you are going to do it, you got to do it right, and you got to do it carefully. And we have a friend here to tell him all about how to
do it.
Yeah, I guess so. Let's go to
how to stop doing it.
And he'll be here in a moment. He's walking around the corner right now.
He's always late.
He's taking a second.
Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 and over in most eligible states. Age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Pick 6 not available in all states, including but not limited to Connecticut and New York. For up-to-date list of states, visit dkng.co/pick6states. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Well, that sums it up.
That pretty well lays it all out there. Now, is there a website they can go to get the addresses of the app stores in their areas so they don't just drive around town aimlessly?
It's a digital store. If you had a smartphone, you would know this. It's on every smartphone, every iPad. What was the word? Every tablet. That's the word I'm looking for. It's on every tablet. Everyone has an app store. If I'm banging a lot, Jace, it's because I don't know what's happening here. But DraftKings,
everybody now is opening app stores. Well, it seems like they'd flood the market with the apps. There'd be too many of them. Like, you got a fucking Starbucks now in every corner. If everybody's opening an app store, it's just too much coffee and too many apps.
Again, that's not how it works, but before we go any further with this ridiculousness, one more time, Jim, how can they get the how can they do this? And
they download the DraftKings Pick 6 app. Now is in capital letters, and they use the code JCE to get the shot at huge cash prizes.